Good evening, and I'll call the steering committee meeting to order. At this time, I'll call on Vice Chair Turner for the reading and approval of the minutes.
Mr. Chairman, I had a chance to review the minutes. I find them in order, and I make a motion for their approval.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. First item on our agenda is to fill one alternate vacancy on the beer board. This term will expire on October 2019. We do have one candidate, Mike DeFeer.
DeFeer. Close.
Okay. I practiced 9 times.
I'm pretty young.
Okay. So would you like to make a statement to the committee?
Good evening, and I appreciate the opportunity, committee members, to come speak to you guys this evening. My name is Mike DeFeer, and interested in this vacancy in being an alternate for the beer board. I've known Lisa here for many years now, and got the opportunity to serve in leadership Rutherford with her, and just looking for a way to get more involved in the county government. I think this would be a great opportunity to get my foot in the door.
Cool. Any questions for Mike? Okay, is there a motion?
Motion to approve the affirmation.
Second. There's a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you, Mike. Your name will be submitted to the full county commission on December the 14th. Thank you. Okay, thank you. Next on our agenda is to fill 4 vacancies on the agricultural committee. We have 2 county commissioners, 1 farmer and 1 farm woman. Looks like that we do have 4 applicants for that. Commissioner Joe Gurley and Commissioner Steve Piercy for farmer, Mr. Colin Miller, and Mrs. Phyllis Ferguson for the farm woman. And anyone in the audience by those names? I think they all are current applicants, or current members of that committee.
There's 2. The commissioners are new. So Will
Commissioners.
and I are term limited out.
Oh, okay, cool.
So they're open. But I'll make a motion that we accept these 4 applicants and move them forward to the full commission.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Stevens. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion passes. Our next item on our agenda is to fill 2 vacancies on the Correctional Work Center Board. We do have 2 applicants here, Francis Mosby and Mr. Bob Asbury.
I'm here.
There you go. Would you like to address the committee?
Oh, thank you so much for letting me speak. I've been on the board for 9 years, and I think I've missed maybe 2 meetings, Mayor, I believe. And I took it over after my husband, Johnny Mosby, passed 9 years ago, so I've been on the board 9 years. I like being there. I think they're doing a great job out there, showing care like they should be, and everything's really going well, and I enjoy being out there, trying to help out and do what little I do.
I know you do a good job.
Thank you.
Mr. Asbury?
Miss Mosby does an excellent job. I think one of the days that she might have missed might have been one day that I wasn't there, because she's always there. I won't stay long because y'all got my experience on my application, and I've enjoyed being there, and hopefully a little bit of my past expertise rubs off a little bit, help a little bit in some of the decision making. Thank you very much.
Any questions for our applicants? If not, I'll take a motion.
Move that we elect both by acclamation.
Second.
Second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. This time, we will fill 1 vacancy on the Public Building Authority. Mr. Michael Picklesheimer currently serves on that board. He is unable to be here for family reasons. You should have his application in front of you. If you would review that, and I'll take a motion.
That committee has done a yeoman's job in the last few years.
Oh, yeah.
I would recommend for his reappointment.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second? We have a second. Commissioner P. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. And to fill 1 vacancy on the insurance committee, this will be a county employee representative. We have Joseph Hafner. The applicant is Joseph. Would you like to
Sure.
address the committee?
Thank you, guys. I've been with the committee 2 years now. I'm still learning. That's what's interesting about it. There's still a lot to learn, but I enjoy it. I appreciate the chance that you gave me 2 years ago, and I'd like to stay on the committee.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Hafner? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion that we approve Mr. Hafner's application and move forward with a vote of acclamation.
Got a motion, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, number 6 on our agenda, nationwide 457B plan. Mrs. Stevenson.
Good evening.
Aye.
Are you?
Sonia, was there supposed to be something on here?
No.
Okay. Makes me feel a little better.
Yeah, no, there
Okay,
wasn't supposed to be
thank you.
anything on there. So last month I came before the committee asking or making a request to move from the nationwide 457B plan. It's my recommendation to move from that plan to the state program that they currently have in place and some of the other entities are utilizing. It was the request of this board for me to send out letters to all of the participating employees. And I sent out letters and I received phone calls from, all the letters sent, I received phone calls from 8 employees. Just asking questions, but after they understood, what the purpose was, none of them, and I didn't see any in the room that had called me, said that they had, Doug called me.
He don't count here.
But you're not disputing my suggestion to move, though. That's what I'm saying. Nobody's here to dispute that. That's what I was trying to say. So I did answer some questions, and once everybody kind of understood it, and I believe I sent that same letter out to each of you so that you would have a copy of the letter that was sent to them, so that you would be aware. Recently, this past Wednesday, I did receive a letter from Nationwide who was counter-offering to lower their fees to 23 basis points, which is what the state programs is 23 basis points on the fees as a percentage of each person's investments, their actual investments, which is a pretty big reduction for them because originally they were running anywhere from 24 to 90 basis points based on the employees' investments, which 90 is extremely high. But in their recommendation to offset lowering those fees, they were going to change the fixed assets account from a 3.5% interest-bearing account to a 3.2, which is what the state's program is, 3.2%. So basically it would be a wash, for what they had. When we evaluated, we took the current employees that we have in the plan now with Nationwide, and we changed the basis points to see what that would mean. Even with them changing the basis points and changing the fixed assets, it still meant, did I put anything? That there was a significant amount of money remaining, which is about $41,000 that could have been in the employees' accounts based on that. And so even though they agreed to lower their accounts, it's still my recommendation that we move forward with moving from Nationwide to the state's program for the reasons that I named. One, because of the fee allocations, I feel like helps the employee grow their investment at a quicker rate. The other reason is because the employees will have access to a certified financial counselor, which we currently do not have. The counselor does live here in Rutherford County, as makes it a little more accessible for us. And the final reason is that because we would be on the state program, this counselor would have the ability to pull in all the employees' investments and look at it and say, here's where you're at, what date are you wanting to retire, much like you would get at another financial investment firm like an Edward Jones or someone like that, a bank who offers investment services, those type things. So it is my recommendation to continue the process to move from nationwide to the state's program for that reason. Does anyone have any questions?
Just input from the mayor's office. Are you behind this move, Mayor Burgess?
Yes, I think, I'm not completely informed like Ms. Stevenson is, but I think she's made a good review of this, and I think it's a wise thing to do.
Commissioner Johnson.
Appreciate you sharing the letter with us, also the information that you did your due diligence and you checked with some of the other entities and got some feedback from them, so I appreciate that. I move that we accept her recommendation.
There's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Simon. We need to announce a vacancy for General Sessions Judge Part 2. And item number 8 is the process for General Sessions Judge Part 2 appointment. I'd like to invite the mayor to the table. On your iPad, you will see the selection process, and I think this was also communicated to us via email.
And I'd like to sort of read into the record on this announcing this vacancy. Let's see what we've got out there. I hope Ms. So, I mean, this, we'll sort of read what the qualifications are so that that'll be a public record as well, so if you don't mind.
Okay.
Okay.
You gonna do that?
Oh, you can do it, or whatever you
Okay.
want.
Well, the General Sessions Judge qualification is a basic qualification of Tennessee Code Annotated 8-18-101, and at least 30 years of age, a resident of the state for 5 years, a resident of the circuit or district for 1 year, authorized to practice law in the courts of Tennessee concerning Tennessee Code Annotated 1615-5005, Tennessee Supreme Court registration number. And they also must be eligible to hold office, and judges are to be licensed, and a certification of attorney on nominating petition. Did I miss anything?
No, and those are just references there, those last
Okay.
three things, the code that
Okay.
was mentioned in the first group there, so. And we do have a resignation that was effective December the 1st. We have the letter from Judge Tidwell, so I just wanted everyone to know that we do have notice of the vacancy. And this is the, we're announcing that, so that's part of the requirement that's some of this code that says we have to publicly tell that. So this is publicly notifying everyone, including the commission and all the other people that might be interested about this vacancy.
It looks like it's kind of similar to the process of the sheriff's.
And the process is very similar. It's a bit simpler because we don't have the fact that they have to have a psychological exam, and we don't have the fact that they have to be post-certified. So that took a couple of things out of the process. So, and Mr. McCrary and Ms. Stevenson both have sort of reviewed this process, and I don't know if you've had time to review the actual process or not, you commissioners, but I guess we are open for discussion. Let's see, did she put that out there as under a separate line item, or? Let me see.
It's item 8.
Okay, yeah, there you go.
There you go.
All right, so have you gentlemen had time to review that, and is there anything that you'd like to discuss? It's pretty much completely the same. Some of the things I didn't say that still would have to be, there is an opportunity for any registered voter to suggest a candidate either in writing to the chairman, which would be me, or at the time we have our meeting, they can do that. And so we'll have to make that announcement at the meeting, that anyone wishing to speak and suggest a name for consideration, then we'll take applications, and if there are any additional names submitted, and after we go through this process, it's still a requirement that any person that's going to be considered will be nominated by a commissioner. just like we had before. That's not different.
So the commissioners, item number 5, we will have the information on or before January the 8th.
That's the schedule here.
And
But your office will be vetting these folks,
Well,
make
we're,
sure that they meet the requirements before.
yes, sir, we're going to do that. And there's the things as far as confirming the age and the residency, et cetera, we'll do that with some assistance from the election commission.
So basically, the list that we give potential applicants would already have
Yes.
met the requirements. Okay.
And that first thing that it said, that first code that was referenced, is just a whole lot of things that they can't be or can't have done, okay? So there was everything, the other age and residency and the licensure is from the other statutes. And so, Mr. McCray, if we're not saying anything, I want you to tell us that if we're missing any points and any questions they might have. And this, so at the December 14th commission meeting, you guys would be, the full commission would be, if this is recommended forward, they'll be approving this process. And that would be proper notification for all these people that are interested in applying to submit their information to us on or before, I think the date was December the 29th. And as we get these applications, we'll be giving them over to Ms. Stevenson, and she will be redacting the information so that we have all these ready to give to you just as soon as we possibly can.
how would that be delivered to us? Through a book or an email or both?
Well, how did we do it last time? I don't.
Each commissioner.
Oh, you picked it up?
Picked it up.
Okay. All right, so we'll be happy to take it to you. You can come get it.
Basically, this will give them 2 weeks to get their information.
Yeah,
by the 29th.
that's right.
So I don't have any problem with it. This was basically the same thing that we went through with the sheriff. And I think it was very thorough. So as long as Ms. Stevenson, Mr. McCreary, they got plenty of time to do what they need to do. Because y'all all were really slammed during this sheriff's thing. I move that we accept it.
Okay, we have a motion to accept this process. Is there a second? Commissioner Pete, any more discussion?
Just one more. If I'm not mistaken, we had a special call meeting when we chose the sheriff. It wasn't at a regular meeting, and this one is proposed at a regular meeting. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
And so we're going to add this on to an agenda item at our regular commission meeting.
Right.
The concern that we had, I believe, last time was the number of applicants that we thought we might have and the length of time that would take. No way of knowing how many applicants we could
No,
possibly have, is there?
we don't really know. We don't think there will be as nearly as many. Hadn't been that much interest so far, but we still.
If we were flooded with applicants, I think the chairman could probably contact us and see if we needed to do another meeting.
We just have to be sure whatever the meeting date is, we give at least a 7-day notice on that meeting for that selection to occur.
I don't object to doing it at a regular meeting, but I do object to going through a lengthy process in addition to the regular meeting, and it's an important decision for the commission to make, and if we have a handful of applicants, it would be fine, but if we had 20 applicants, I'd have a concern about that.
Do you know how many people's called, expressed interest?
No one has called or expressed interest, but we think there's at least 3 that we know of that probably are seriously considering this.
Thank you, Pat.
Any other discussion or questions? Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Now let me, before we leave, if you don't mind, so we can just sort of publicly say this. Whoever is appointed is going to have to run for election. And so they're going to almost have to start campaigning as soon as they're selected. So,
But let's look at anybody else.
So will anybody else? That's right. So it's just a process so that the public knows that this person that's appointed by the commission will serve through August, the end of August, and then there, either that person or whoever else is elected will take office for starting September the 1st, 2018, to serve through August of 2022.
What is the election, what are the election milestone dates?
Well, May is the primary.
So they would have to run in a primary?
In the primary in May, and then August will be the general election.
They'll be kind of under the gun if they're running as Republican, because the deadline for qualifying or getting a petition in is
20th of February, so I mean, that's,
for the May primary, so they're gonna have to get in gear also,
And when would they start? Next
well,
day or?
we hope they'll be prepared to start the next day. I mean, because the other general session judges are more than overwhelmed right at this moment. So this is one reason we want to move this as quickly as we can. But this person has to be sitting in the seat no later than 120 days from December the 1st, according to statute. So they don't have much flexibility on shutting a practice down. That's all I wanted to sort of add to that, so the public will see the whole scheme of what's going to happen here.
Okay. Thank you very much. Before we get to item number 9, unless there's any objections from the committee, a member of the public, Ronald Williams, has asked to make a 2-minute statement. I'm going to allow him to do that unless there's any objections.
Do you need a motion to suspend the rules?
I'll take one.
A motion to suspend the rules.
Okay.
Mr. Williams.
We got a second? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Williams.
Well, thank y'all. I've got a whole lot of material here, but I'm only going to talk about 2 brief things. One of my puzzles is whether the county attorney is a county employee as it relates to the personnel policies. I know Commissioner Peete brought that up, and if they are a county employee, then there are things that they're supposed to do to be accountable to the policies there, because their contract calls for being in alignment with the policies. And I'm not going to get into them, but I would just like that for those things to be looked at. And I know that being in business for years, the IRS and the people have a standards of whether people are employees or whether they're contract labor. And I would just like to see somebody take that and apply it to this position. Whichever way it comes out, but it's always been a confusion to me, and I've looked at this for some time. Secondly, that I want to talk about is the Legal Services Agreement, Section 5B. And I've looked through this thing many times, and I've scanned it, and when I would scan down, and I'd read the first sentence or so and move on. You know, that's kind of my bad. But as of late, I've noticed that the county attorney and associates shall be entitled to be represented, defended, and have liability claims against them paid by Rutherford County in the same manner as elected, appointed officials or employees. Now, for me, if I go into an attorney's office, whether I'm handling an estate or from other stuff, and they tell me that I'm going to take the case and here's my hourly rate, but if anybody sues me on behalf of this, not only do I want you to pay my legal fees for this, but I want you to pay any claim that I've got, regardless of what it is that I've done. Now, that's just, to me, is a statement that needs to be looked at seriously in this, because what we're doing is obligating all the taxpayers if there's any wrongdoing ever done by the law firm. Now, we can't say who they're going to hire, who's going to be in, or what's going to happen. But the first part of this statement says that the county, that they will, at their expense, have professional liability insurance. And when I read that, I thought that was the end of it, but then it goes on to put in there an exculpatory clause that not only makes them not liable for anything that they do wrong, but all the taxpayers, if I understand this correctly, now, I'm not an attorney like Commissioner Stevens is or anybody else, but it appears that this puts all the taxpayers on the hook for any wrongdoing that they do. So I just hope that y'all would look at that particular clause and the whether they are employees as it stands to the general standards of employee and with IRS and stuff. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Williams. Okay, Josh, if you'd like to make it.
Sure.
I think you have an amendment to the...
Yeah, so I thought that these got uploaded, but didn't. Anyway, so let me pass those around. All right, so I'll just walk you through this. That's appropriate.
Yes, sir.
This is what was emailed to you, copies of that. So the first item there is the cover memo. When you get to the fourth amendment, as proposed. So we were here on November the 6th, voted on a couple of changes to be made to the agreement. And this fourth amendment is the effort to incorporate those requested changes into the legal services arrangement. So the front page there is just setting the stage. So you've got several whereas clauses explaining how we got to where we are in terms of the original agreement and the amendments and so forth. When you turn over onto page 2, the paragraph number 1 extends the term of the county attorney through December 31, 2022, which was voted on at the last meeting. Paragraph number 2 provides for a temporary replacement if something happens to me, but leaves open your ability to retain a more permanent replacement should you wish in that event, which was voted on at the last meeting. Item 3 is a carryover for clarification. So this just restates the county attorney pay and the general legal services compensation provision. So it is the same as what was in the previous document. Of course, if you look at 3B, every year there is a county attorney budget that the budget committee and the commission vote on, and it is subject to minor adjustment year over year because there are modest changes to the back tax assistant and some things like that, and this allows for that. Item 4 extends the term for the litigation and extra services. So if you remember our conversation last month, the whole thing is in sort of 2 buckets. There's the basic county attorney work and there's the litigation stuff. So paragraphs 1, 2, and 3 are dealing with the county attorney bucket. Paragraph 4 is dealing with the litigation bucket. And all it does is extends that term through December 31, 2022 as voted on, and leaves in the 180-day notice to terminate and so forth, just like the other agreement.
Basically giving them a buffer.
Both ways. So that commission at that time can terminate it, right? Right, but it gives everybody a heads up, so there is a notice requirement there. But that's what's in the agreement now. That's not different. Item 5 is to incorporate the request that was made to take out the approval and consent language if outside counsel are retained. So we did that, making clear that the county commission can hire other attorneys for various reasons, including the sheriff's office, that was in the language too, as it deems appropriate without the approval of the county attorney. Item 6 says everything that's not changed by this agreement is still in place. And that's it. So I tried to just do the things that you asked for, not more, not less. I attached to that an exchange I had with CTAS, just for your edification, since there's been an ongoing, prolonged amount of discussion about this process. I thought it might be helpful to get a perspective from CTAS on the normalcy of what we're doing, and so I attached that. And my exchange with the CTAS attorney, who is also part of the Tennessee County Attorney Association. She's on the board in some way, ex officio or something. But anyway, she's familiar with these arrangements, and you'll see my questions to her and her responses. I asked specifically about whether it's typical for counties to contract with outside private law firms to provide these kinds of services, and you'll see her response that most counties in Tennessee do this with private outside law firms that still maintain private practices. I asked specifically for her to look at our 2010 Private Act and offer an opinion about whether or not the county having an arrangement with our office was inside the scope of that private act. You'll see her answer is that she believes that it is. And then as to this question about who then would prepare such a document, I asked that too, and you'll see her response that she thinks it's typical for the county attorney or the law firm in question to prepare the contract. So everything, as best I can tell, in terms of the way we've moved this forward, is typical. That's it. I'll answer any questions as best I can.
But this is basically what you brought last month, just with those changes made inside the, or discussion points we had last month related to 4 years and making some of those changes.
Right. That's it.
That's all I was looking for, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
it. That's what's in the amendment.
Question about
Yes.
paragraph number 5.
Okay.
It says, therefore, the county commission may, upon recommendation of the county mayor, and with the advice of the county attorney, place certain cases or legal matters with outside counsel. I don't know that our intention was to make it where the county mayor had to recommend
Okay.
hiring outside counsel. I just seemed like we wanted to make it to where the commission had the desire to hire outside counsel, we could do that.
Well, would you give the county mayor at least an opportunity for advice?
Oh, well, sure, I mean, they're certainly there for advice, but I mean, the attorney works for the commission.
Absolutely.
I mean, we've got
But
to
you're-
separate the mayor's office from the commission.
So you're the mayor, you don't want the mayor to have any responsibility, or you don't think it's appropriate for him to at least be a part of this discussion, but
I think
you don't have to accept his recommendation or hers.
Well, the way it's worded, it says upon recommendation of the county mayor, and to me, that says unless the county mayor recommends hiring outside counsel, you can't do it.
Okay, what do you want that to say?
I mean, just the county commission may, maybe with the advice.
All right, what if it says, therefore, the county commission may, with the advice of the county mayor and county attorney, place certain cases?
I think that's better because
Okay.
there's a couple other places in the law where it says that the commission can't do something unless the mayor makes a recommendation. And if the mayor won't make the recommendation, then the commission is stuck.
My intent was not to leave the mayor out of the loop there. I think the mayor, whoever the mayor may be at that time or in the future, should have input, and it should be somebody that they can work with. You know, if there's a specific problem with them, I think the mayor should be able to advise us, you know, that there is a problem there. And he might say, hey, could y'all recommend someone else? But I'd like for whoever the mayor might be, and whether it's Mr. Burgess or future mayor, have that opportunity.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
And does this, in your opinion, does this allow that?
If it says upon recommendation of the county mayor, if the mayor doesn't make a recommendation to hire someone else.
I understand where you're coming from there, and I agree with taking that out, but I'm just saying I still want input from the mayor.
Yeah, and that's a reasonable thing.
So we'll say, that sentence would read, therefore the county commission may, comma, with the advice of the county mayor and county attorney, do you want to strike in county attorney? And then say, if deemed appropriate by the county commission, place certain cases?
I mean, I think the attorney can
Doesn't
give
matter.
advice on the matter too. I just don't think that anybody should have a veto or
Yeah,
be able
I
to
hear you.
prevent us from taking some kind of action that we want to take.
Yep. So does that language get it?
I think it does.
Advice of the county mayor? All right.
Read it back again.
All right, so that sentence would read, therefore, the county commission may, with the advice of the county mayor and county attorney, if deemed appropriate by the county commission, place certain cases or legal matters that present unique circumstances, such as conflict of interest or the need of a particular expertise with outside counsel of its choosing, subject to the other terms of the legal services agreement that may apply.
Just basically striking the word recommendation, correct?
I struck the words upon recommendation and then the redundancy of with the advice of, because it would have said it twice. So I struck one of those.
What else? What else? Anything else? Yes, sir.
I've got something else I'd like to bring up, the stipulation, but I want the discussion on what's in front of us first.
Okay.
If everybody's satisfied with that, I'll go there.
Any other discussion? Okay, Commissioner Pete.
When we looked at this last time, I thought it run through my head, and, you know, after we left the meeting, I regretted not having brought this up, and I'm gonna bring it up now. One thing for me to agree to voting in favor of a legal services agreement with Mr. McQuarrie and his group is, I don't want Jim Cope representing the county in the future now under their firm or any other firm. That may be my own personal opinion, but that's part of the stipulation now. My father was a commissioner here back when Mr. McAdoo first started too, you know, a long time ago. Basically, you didn't have to have a contract. There was an agreement, and the agreement was kept by both sides. And I'm perfectly willing to go with a verbal agreement if that would be okay with Mr. McQuarrie and his firm. But I wouldn't be able to support them knowing that Jim would be back representing the county. It's just, to me, it's a trust factor, and, you know, he's lost that with me. And,
So can you speak to that?
Yeah. So Jim Cope's not a member of our law anymore. And so would not be performing any legal services under this agreement. Whether or not you want that addressed in some other way, I'll leave that to y'all's discretion. But that's the state.
Has he, you said he's not with your firm anymore. Is he retired, gone for good, or may come back, or do you have any
Well, I don't
information?
know what his expectations are personally in the future. I can speak for our law firm. He's not a member of our law firm and is not coming back. I mean, I can only speak from my side of it, and I can tell you that is the state of the facts. So I don't know what, if anything, Jim ever intends to do in the future. Whether he intends to work or not, I don't know, one way or the other. But he won't be at our firm.
That satisfies.
That satisfies you, I think it's. Good question. Anything else?
Yeah, I'd kind of like to raise one other item here. So, Mr. Williams sat here and raised this question of what is the county attorney? I think probably if we don't clarify that, the question's gonna keep being asked. So we probably just need to clarify it. I will tell you what my understanding has been, and then we can decide if it's clear enough in this agreement or not. Because there's a private act from 2010 that authorizes the county to contract for legal services, I have always viewed both the services of our firm and, for the period of time I've been the county attorney, as a retained attorney. So I'm servicing the county by contract, and that's why there's a written contract, because the 2010 Act says the county can contract with private services and describe the terms, conditions, and so forth of employment. And so that has been my understanding of it. And I think as far as HR has treated us, and Sonia's here, it's been, internally, they've done it kind of like, I think, an elected official, even though we're not an elected official. But I think that's how they've handled it, because you have sort of buckets that you think things need to fit into, and this doesn't fit neatly, possibly, into either bucket, so she has handled it as an elected official. But I view us, and view myself, as a contracted person, an independent contractor in essence. And then the contract spells out the compensation, which includes the items that are set out in there. So Sonia, you can speak to that if you want to. I think if it needs to be clarified, it probably ought to be
Put a paragraph
clarified.
in there or a sentence that says that the county employee is an independent contractor.
Yeah.
Sonia, do you have?
Just gonna say, an independent contractor, I would want to look at the terminology on that, because it does, while we don't direct, under an independent contractor, we don't direct the workflow, and he works independently and provides his own tools and stuff. Well, I guess it would be, I want to look at it, but I'd say that would be okay. He is treated, as he said, that's kind of what we did. He is, pretty much the only one acting in that capacity in that way. And so he doesn't get all the benefits of a paid employee. He's more the benefits of elected
So
officials.
does he get benefits at all, or?
He participates in our health insurance program.
Right.
I think it is what the contract says it is. That's what the 2010 Act authorizes. It authorizes a contract that spells out the retention of counsel under the terms provided in the contract. So in my mind, when we start trying to cloak it with words that have all other kinds of meanings in our head, like employee or independent contractor, all these things, we're really confusing the matter. It's really a contract position, and what the contract says it is what it is.
Because he's
And
not,
that's how we've treated it, and I think that's consistent with what the Act contemplates, and it explains why there's a detailed contract. If you were just an employee, you'd just be an employee. You wouldn't need all this other stuff.
The only benefit is medical benefit, and that's spelled out in the contract. Is that correct?
so he's not accruing leave of any sort.
But he
He's
isn't.
not accruing sick leave or annual leave. He's
Right.
not requesting time off. All of the employees of the county clock in and out on a time clock. Our elected officials do not clock in and out on a time clock, but the employees within their offices do. I clock in and out on a timekeeping device, and that's not something that he does, so that is another differentiator for him. He would not apply to the HR office for a family medical leave, so he would not apply to us for leave. His hours are at his discretion based on getting the work done. We don't designate that you have to work 40 hours or 80 hours. It's just getting the job done within his agreement. So that's why when he says, I'm not really an employee, but I'm not an elected official, we had to figure out what bucket to put him into. And so that's how we did it.
Do you have to go back and clock out when you leave a meeting?
I do.
but nobody's reviewing her timesheets.
What are you trying to say?
Except her.
You're welcome to review my time.
You are the
Well, I'm just
current
kind of
employee.
concerned you're going over there at night by yourself.
I clock out in the break room.
Oh, you can do it here? Okay, cool.
In the mailroom here.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Mr. McCreary?
Yes,
you're not-
sir.
You're not eligible for retirement benefits either, is that correct?
I don't really even know. Do you know?
I'd have to look at that, I'm not sure.
Do you have the agreement with you?
Yeah, all of
The
that could
underlying
just
agreement, I think.
end up being changed anyways in the next contract, right? I mean, that's something that we could write in.
It's saying there, that's what I was
If they
asking. I asked if you had a copy of that agreement, original agreement.
It has
Because
just
honestly
some
cannot
generic
remember.
language.
Oh, okay.
Hang on just a second. Benefits typically.
Typically granted. Yeah, he's in the retirement plan.
That's just Josh,
Just
by
Jo-
name
just
only,
Josh by
not,
name,
not
by name
everyone at
only.
the firm.
Okay.
I
Yes,
have one
sir.
other question. Commissioner Pete brought this up. You said something to the, up there, verbal agreement versus contractual agreement.
Right.
I'm a little bit dense, but
Yeah.
I don't believe Private Act would allow that, unless, as far as a verbal agreement,
Yeah.
we would have to basically comply with the contractual agreement, right?
Yeah, but I mean, I don't want to put words in Commissioner Pete's mouth, but I suspect he just wanted to hear me say out loud that Jim Cook wouldn't be doing work,
That's
which he
basi-
got.
That's basically correct,
But we can put it in
and-
too.
And you don't have to, because like I said, I took you at your word. But I've had constituents that have asked me specifically about that, what his capacity would be in the future.
Yeah.
And, if there was one now, whether he was making money from the firm, because he was a partner for so long. So, those are questions that I have constituents that are asking me, and I was trying to dig some of that out.
Okay.
That's where it's from, Josh.
Yeah,
And
it's a fair question.
what I said a minute ago is, I trust what you told me, that he's not gonna be a member of the firm. If he's not a member of the firm, he's not a member of this contract, and he's not gonna be. So, to me, that's the end of the story.
You could put language that deletes, there are references in this original document to his name. We could delete those. We could have a sentence that says any references to Cope are deleted or something like that. May cover that base as well.
Well, to satisfy his concern, can we just put a sentence in there that says if Mr. Cope joins the firm, the commission can terminate the agreement? I mean, that takes care of that problem.
Like I said a while ago, if some of y'all had concerns, I had a concern there.
Yeah.
And, if you wanna put that in there, that's fine with me. I'll support you in that.
So where do we move from here? Do we need a vote on the amendments or the contract in general, or? Yes, sir.
I've got one more question.
Sure.
I'd like to get the air cleared on this as much as possible.
Yes.
And the only other thing that I've heard tonight is what Mr. Williams brought up about the county being liable for your,
Yeah.
can you address that?
Yeah, I can try to. I didn't write this original piece of paper that we're all looking at, but what what is it, 5B? All right, so the first part, I think, just says, we'll have insurance, liability insurance, professional malpractice insurance. We have that. So that would mean if the client, which in this case is the county, has a malpractice action against us, we have insurance that would cover that. My understanding of the second portion that Mr. Williams, I think, has an issue with is that you could theoretically have someone who isn't the client, so the client's the county, but you could have some person out there in the community that isn't the client that might try to assert some cause of action against the county attorney or the law firm. Just like some private person might try to assert a cause of action against Ernest Burgess or the steering committee chair or any one of you. If that happens, then the county defends and indemnifies that person in that office. That's my understanding of the second sentence in 5B, which frankly probably is fair, because there could be 300,000 people out there that could assert some kind of claim against me that has nothing to do with the service rendered to the county. So, I mean, we can discuss that provision. I didn't write it, but I think that's probably what it means.
So if you go back to sort of what Ms. Stevens was saying, we're treating the county attorney more or less as an elected official. And these elected officials, the county is responsible for, we think, legally, statutorily, for defending them against some of these things that may occur. Who knows where they're coming? Who knows if they really done anything or not? And you know full well we've had to do that at least on 2 or 3 occasions already. So it's sort of in that same kind of discussion process as to why the county attorney has been considered like an elected official.
And I understand that, you know, makes me think, well, I kind of understand it, but then again, you have your own personal liability insurance, which is covered anyway, regardless, right?
If it's legal services rendered to the county, yes.
Oh, but you're,
I'm saying, what if some Joe Schmo sues me as county attorney for something I didn't do that's directly related to legal services rendered to the client?
I understand where you're coming from.
Just like you as a county commissioner could get sued by Joe Schmo for whatever. I mean, there's 26 lawsuits on your litigation list.
That has nothing,
Any one of you could be sued tomorrow.
that may have had nothing to do with a decision you made regarding county commission duties.
Well, the first year that I was elected county commissioner, the first time I got a summons, or a notification that I was part of a lawsuit, I was caught by surprise. So yes, it will happen, or it does happen, and has happened.
And there was a suit against some of us after the Bible Belt fiasco. So,
Yeah.
So
Any-
I understand where you're coming from there.
Okay.
so what's the next step? Do we need to?
Well, first of all, have you concurred with the changes that he's identified? Now, we made this one particular change. Only one change has actually been made, and that's regarding the advice of the county mayor
Well, the language about code.
and the language about COPE.
And then, all right.
So are we far enough along with this, with those 2 additional changes to be made for you to be comfortable with that going on to the full commission or not?
Mr. McAdoo?
I myself, I could buy that on code, but I just hate to specify one particular individual, because sitting on the commission, this firm may go out and hire somebody that the commission disagrees with. May go out and hire a white supremacist attorney or somebody or whatever to his firm. Then you saying that I'm going to accept that? The only person that I cannot accept is COPE. So I think it should be a little more general than just one name myself.
I don't know how you write something like that in there.
Well, what I was saying earlier
Just
is,
can't hire racists.
well,
And
It's
they
already in
determine
his
that.
agreement, though, that he agrees not to discriminate in the policy. I mean, that he agrees not to.
Yeah.
Why would you
well,
go in
you're
there?
just using that by analogy.
Yeah,
That's not the point.
Not literal, yeah.
Okay.
I understand.
I just have a problem just specifying one individual. So, can we make it more general or whatever? Because some things may happen between now and in the future.
I think the specific name that was mentioned is for a reason that we all know. That's the only name right now that we would have any opposition to. I think that anyone else that he brings into the firm would be vetted by him and the team that, I mean, it's his law firm. I think if any law he was working on our business and we have objections, we can always come in and say something or do something.
You can give a 180-day notice too.
You can
Yeah.
place cases with other law firms.
I don't, yeah, for me, I don't see, I get what Commissioner Peace saying. I don't know if there's a reason for me to include his name in there. I voted no last time because of the 2-year thing. I think it should be 2 years. It allows us to review things like this every 2 years instead of every 4 years. But to Mr. Peace's point, I take you at your word publicly. I think it would be the height of foolishness if your law firm said what you just said publicly with the media here, and then all of a sudden make a decision to hire him back. It just would not work. And Commissioner P just mentioned we do have the 180 days at the same time to make a fairly easy decision there if something like that occurred. But
So you're just saying just take that sentence
I would
out?
just strip that out for I would vote to make those language changes with the advice of the county mayor and the county attorney. I'm going to vote no because I prefer that it be 2 years as opposed to 4. But that single language as it relates to with the advice, I'm fine with the Mr. Cope stuff. I would hope we could remove that as long as Mr. P or other commissioners are comfortable with.
I'm okay either way on it.
Yeah, maybe I lean towards Mr. McAdoo's position without me even realizing it. I try to practice grace, mercy, and forgiveness as best I can, and publicly listing someone with a scarlet letter, I prefer I'm not being involved in that.
Right.
Okay, so we're taking that sentence out.
Why don't you?
Well, maybe won't you do it through a motion? I mean,
I would make a motion that we approve the language for with the advice of the county mayor and county attorney, and we remove the language mentioning Mr. Cope.
Got a motion, you got a second?
Now, just can I make a clarification?
Yes, sir.
I'm out of order here, I think. But
No, you're fine.
the language about COPE isn't in here now. Just to
Right.
be clear, I didn't put that language
Right.
in there. I didn't raise the issue.
Yeah.
It was raised to me.
I'm making sure we don't raise
I
that
understand.
motion.
We don't put
I
it
just
in.
want
I'm
to be
saying don't
clear
put it.
in the way this looks in the minutes. This was
Yeah, but I thought he
Oh, I
was
see
writing
what you're
something
saying.
down,
Okay.
what he said.
Yeah.
so-
So we're just approving, I got it. So then I'll just,
There hadn't been a motion on either.
I just make the motion then that we approve the language related to with the advice of the county mayor and county attorney and the changes for the contract or their legal agreement.
Second.
And is that to send it to the full commission?
Or whoever needs, yeah, full commission, whoever would need to go to for review, that's fine.
that addition to what he's already prepared here, make that one modification and send it on to the full commission.
Yeah.
So you're approving the agreement as presented tonight?
The Fourth
with
Amendment.
This,
Right.
okay.
Correct, but I'm going to end up voting no on that down the road for
That's
my own
okay,
reasons,
yeah.
yeah. But I want to go ahead and move it to the full commission.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, and question, Commissioner P?
Sorry, but just so I'm straight in my head, retirement, let's specify what is there retirement attached to this? If it is it just
Where
to
is that?
It's in
the
there.
county attorney?
It's in here.
Or is
Let's-
it
Let's
with
read
all
what's
the
in the
attorneys?
agreement. Where was that?
it's right here somewhere.
$72,000 annually plus any benefits typically granted Rutherford County employees based on the policies then in place. So that is a typical
But
benefit.
that's just for the county attorney, not for the other associates.
That's right. That's only on that
So that's
base
all.
salary of $72,000.
I had asked that Commissioner P if it was in name only and not the firm, and he confirmed that.
So that's,
Were we going to clarify if he was a independent contractor or not, or are we gonna leave that out?
I think it is what it is with the, what he says, it's just a contract.
it is a contract. So,
Does that satisfy your question, Commissioner Stevens?
I mean, I guess I'm okay with it.
Okay.
I thought there was discussion about why we wanted to include that in there, so.
It could perhaps be clarified. I mean, you could put language that says retained. I think the language retained is the right language, pursuant to the contract to be compensated pursuant to the contract, or something along those lines, so that it's clear that it's not, that that's what it is. and say it in those words, because right now, I guess it doesn't say it quite like that. It does say contracted with, and it uses the word retained somewhere in here, but it doesn't say it in those exact words.
And the position is not subject to the county employee handbook. Is that correct?
No, I don't think it is.
Which might be a good thing, because I think if you become an employee or are treated as an employee, you get all the due process protections that are outlined in the county employee handbook. So,
I don't know one way or the other. I have just always believed that this position is just like if one of you privately hired a lawyer, they are your retained attorney. And I think that's what this contract provides for. The nuance of confusion about health insurance is really just a compensation piece under the contract arrangement. So it's not, doesn't turn on employment, in my mind. It turns on what does the contract provide for. But it's y'all's, I mean, you're the ones that make the policy decisions, not me, so.
well, I'd like to make a motion to amend Commissioner Turner's motion to include that language about the attorney being retained
All right.
pursuant to the terms of the contract.
Okay, we have an amendment to the motion. Is there a second to the amendment?
Second.
Okay, any discussions on the amendment?
Yeah, let me just, we keep getting deeper into this stuff. Mr. Mayor, are you okay with that amendment?
Both pieces of it, right? Yeah. I mean, yes, I mean,
Josh, you're okay with that as well?
Yes, the language we just talked about, I don't think even changes anything. It just puts in writing what I think it is, and the language about the advice,
So,
it doesn't change what I thought anyway for the county attorney. It does change the mayor's position slightly in terms of advice and approval of outside counsel.
and then one other thing, you mentioned benefits that's accessible to all employees, and
Right.
we just excluded a number of things from that, Sonia. And to me, that's not real clear in there too. Should we just include those two particular things that Josh is participating in now, which is the retirement plan and the medical benefit plan? Because the way I heard that was that you could be to all that other stuff. That's what I heard, and I'm not sure that's the intent of that. Can we change it to just those two particular benefits instead of, all the others?
Yes, and that's what I was thinking, and I actually looked it up while y'all were talking. The reason we don't want to call him an independent contractor that doesn't need to be in there is because an independent contractor would not receive any type benefit from the organization. So you just need to say that he is, retained in order to provide the services, and the payment for those services are outlined in the agreement, because an independent contractor cannot receive any type of a benefit, and the health insurance and the pension would be considered a benefit. So we don't need to call him an independent contractor. The verbiage that you use, he's retained to provide the services for the county as outlined in the legal services agreement. And you could change that one to say that he is entitled to $72,000 plus
Medical,
inclusion in the
plus medical and retirement?
and the other,
I would say insurance, because he would be eligible for supplementals, which doesn't cost the county money.
Insurance and retirement.
and we have to pay the Social Security and Medicare
Right.
components of the FICA.
I'd make a motion that we...
Well,
Let's vote on this amendment
yeah, we're
first.
going to vote on this amendment first, and then we'll come back to your amendment. So all in favor to Commissioner, who made the amendment? Stevens. Please say aye. You want to go ahead and read it?
Let me read it. Okay, the amendment to the motion is that Mr. McCrary is retained and compensated pursuant to the legal services agreement and is entitled to salary, health insurance, and pension.
So you put Commissioner Phillips' motion amendment in with Commissioner Stevens?
No, I had Mr. Stevens and Jeff Phillips on this amendment.
Well, that's okay.
Okay, that's okay.
I'll make the motion to read that way if the second.
Yeah, I'll second
Okay.
that as well.
All in favor?
Take health out. It's insurance and pension, not health insurance.
Okay.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Motion passes. And that's to send that to the full commission,
That was
correct?
just on the amendment.
That's on the amendment.
Josh, one question. If I make the motion, can I still vote no in committee? Or do I need to, or can I not vote? No, I don't want to,
Yeah, no,
I don't want
you
to
can
pass
still
it.
vote no.
Okay. I just wanted, we needed a clarification on that. We meeting me. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, we're voting on the amended motion,
Which is
which is,
approve the Fourth Amendment, legal services, yeah,
right,
including the language relating to May, with the advice of the county attorney and the mayor, including that.
okay, if there's no other discussion, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? No. Motion passes.
We've successfully ran out leadership roster, so don't
Yeah, board ended down.
elected
This board.
officials again.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
it might be wise that Mr. McCrary make these changes and get these to you as members of this committee before the commission meeting. So if something, you see something that needs a little bit of a revision or otherwise, it can be done before we get there, sort of.
Yeah, we can just put that on the SharePoint site so that anybody out there in the public wants to look at it,
Sure.
they can have access to that as well.
Yeah, that'd be wise.
One other thing before we end this that I want to point out is we've got an extensive list of litigation here. And what's more important for me is there are 19 recently resolved cases. I want to say thank you for putting those behind us.
Yeah, you're welcome. I think we went from 39 to 20, whatever's on
I
there.
had counted on the front
In
end.
the last, since we started doing this list.
24,
So, yeah,
26.
doing the best we can.
Thank you so much. Discussion regarding the interchange at Rocky Fork
Thank you all.
Road.
You, Josh.
Thank you, Josh. Yes, sir.
Well, every year we ask when we meet with our legislators what progress has been made on this, and they tell us that they've been having meetings and they've talked about it with some people. And then last year, Senator Tracy said that it would really help if we sent them a resolution. So this is a project that is critical for Smyrna, and I think it's critical for the county too, for economic development and also traffic reduction on Sam Ridley Parkway. I don't know if anybody's driven from one end to the other recently, but it can take 15 minutes or more when there's hot traffic in the morning and the afternoon after work. And this interchange, if we can ever get it moving, would alleviate some of the traffic, and it would also open up all kinds of commercial development, which would be great for creating jobs and increasing our tax base too. So he had suggested that we have never sent a resolution asking them to prioritize that and fund it. And so I was going to make a motion tonight that we ask our state and federal legislators to prioritize the interchange at I-24 and Rocky Fork Road in Smyrna, and to see if they can come up with a way to fund that and get the ball rolling.
Second that motion.
So that was a motion in a second. Any discussion?
I see our planning director here, Mr. DeMonte. Do you have any input on that recommendation at all as it relates to development in that area?
Well, I mean, I think it's a project that Commissioner Stevens said has been on the table for quite some time, and I know that Smyrna town officials are really wanting to move forward, and I think it would be good for Smyrna, it'd be good for the county in general. So,
thank you.
Will Smyrna be sending a resolution from there?
I'm not sure if they have or if they will,
Body or what?
but I can go back to them and ask them to send one too.
I would.
I'd like to hear from our road board member too.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm trying to get everybody's attention. Okay. This was discussed rather lengthy this morning in the road board, and I've been on the road board for 17 years. And even though the theory is good, the practicality of it, from the discussion from the road board and the road superintendent, Rocky Fork Road is going to require extensive work to accommodate this, and we're talking millions of dollars. And you're looking at 10 to 12 years out into the future anyway, going through the process, better known as the bureaucracy. So I think it would really be an effort of utility at this point right now, because I'm serious. The right-of-way acquisition, the land that we required to carry this, basically create a lot of problems if we didn't address it through the county.
Do you think this should originate in Public Works?
That sounds like
And
a
then
plan.
maybe come from steering from Public Works?
That sounds like a plan.
Well, I'm on Public Works, I can bring it up tomorrow night there too. So-
Okay.
But if we want to see the project, I just get tired every year of our meeting with them saying, well, we've had meetings and we've talked about it. So this is what they asked us to do. So we
Right.
take this to them, we can ask next year, what have you done since then?
When's the deadline to have,
Before the session starts.
before the session starts, or?
Well, somebody would have to,
I mean, if it was approved at the January commission meeting, if it went to,
if somebody were going to file a bill, it would have to be done by the January commission meeting, but I'm not sure that's the way to go. I think it's going to be just an effort.
just a resolution,
Getting our people to start making more noise about it and ask the federal officials and the state officials to put it higher on the priority list. And
Okay.
I know the town of Smyrna is very interested in this, and I think they're willing to put up some money to help fund the interchange. And
is there a motion on the floor?
I'm a big believer that if you want to make money, you have to invest some in it. And if we invested some money into widening that road, the development and the business taxes and so forth that would come in would pay for that in no time.
It's been on 6 minutes.
Would you like to maybe withdraw your motion, bring it up to Public Works, using the information the road board has, and maybe send it back to?
I'd like to amend the motion to go ahead and vote on it and forward it to the Public Works Committee for recommendation.
Okay.
I'll second that.
So there's an amendment, or? Okay. So any other discussion on the amendment?
Read the amendment.
The amendment is to go on and vote and forward the recommendation to the Public Works Committee for a recommendation.
Roll call vote.
Okay, so we're going to vote for the amendment, which is to send it to Public Works.
To go ahead and vote
Go ahead
and
and vote.
forward it to the Public Works.
Okay. So this is just the amendment, and you want a roll call vote?
Yeah.
Okay, call the roll.
Commissioner Johnson,
No.
Commissioner McAdoo,
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips,
Aye.
Commissioner Stevens,
Yes.
Commissioner Turner,
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch.
Yes. Okay, now we're voting for the full motion as amended. And do you want a roll call vote on that also?
Yes.
Okay.
And, Mr. Chairman, just clarification, we're not going to send something down there asking them to introduce a bill. This is just a recommendation, a resolution
Ask them
saying
to prioritize it.
prioritize, that's all it is, okay? And I'm with Mr. Johnson, I don't think we're in a position to commit the funds that would take to actually improve that road it's a county road. It's not going to be of much benefit unless that road has major improvements. I agree with that.
We got other priorities that Jefferson Pike consider, some of the other 99, are a little bit more pressing, in our humble opinion.
Okay, call the roll, please.
Commissioner Johnson, Commissioner McAdoo.
Yes.
Commissioner P,
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips.
Aye.
Commissioner Stevens.
Yes.
Commissioner Turner.
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch.
Yes. Motion passes. Commissioner Stevens, will you be presenting that?
I can. I'll do that tomorrow night.
Thank you so much.
And Mr. Johnson, I don't think our road superintendent is in town, so maybe you, since you heard all this road board discussion, maybe if you could be at Public Works, it might be advisable.
Tomorrow night,
Tomorrow night, 5:30.
I'll check my agenda, but I think I'm available. I will make myself available.
Okay, next item, litigation list.
Before we kind of get completely off that, I've got just a point I'd like to bring up. Commissioner Johnson is right on point as it relates to, in essence, road improvements in the county. There was a discussion at the Health and Ed meeting maybe 2 months ago, maybe 3 months ago, that related to a new potentially proposed high school in the Amaville area. And a point was made by a member of that committee that don't bring back any more new school buildings without a study that relates to transportation, a study that relates to how the roads in that area are going to carry the traffic in that area. That whole process has to be considered before we continue to build schools. And the Amaville Road School is critical. That there's been so much development on that road, and it is a windy, 2-lane, what I would consider a country road, and we're continuing to build on it. So it's just part of that process. We're doing these things, and we're continuing to do these things without making provisions for people to get from point A to point B. And I don't know how difficult it is to get from Smyrna or Laverne to Murfreesboro, but I know how difficult it is to get from MTSU to the Avenue. Okay? And that's the way that things are going to be for us from now on. So I'm thinking we as a commission really ought to start considering, when it comes to that type of development, like schools and those type of things, that I'm going to vote no unless you give me a plan. And how are we going to address getting people from point A to point B? It has to be considered as part of the cost. We can't just, in essence, build something without having some plan to get people to and from. And it goes right along with what the school board was saying. But we do it, and we're going to have to look at things differently over the next 40 years than we've looked at them over the last 40 years. We're just going to have to do that. And people are fussing and complaining, and I'm actually one of them. You know, it just takes a multitude just to get from here to there. You mentioned 10 or 12 years, and I'd say that just looking at a half-a-mile strip in front of MTSU on Tennessee Boulevard, they've been working on that thing for 2.5 years. How long does it take to improve a half-a-mile road? How long? And you know, we that live in the area are just nuts about it. So what can I say other than I've got a concern about where we're building things and where we're putting things, and I know we're running out of land, but we're also running out of room to grow. And you know, this interchange is probably going to help quite a bit, but there also needs to be that plan that you talked about. And maybe the state could even help with that part of the plan. That could be part of the recommendation.
I respect their opinion and I respect their view, but interchange will be in the city, and we have to look at the overall picture of how that's going to affect the whole county to the left, headed toward Nashville for that interchange. And like I said, it is a major concern of Rocky Fork Road. I mean, you're talking about big bucks, time consuming and everything else. So I don't know where the exact benefit will be more toward the city as far as the interchange is concerned, because you're going to be dumping more traffic off on Rocky Fork Road that's going to go to go to Nolensville, et cetera, around to there. So, you know, it's like putting 5 pounds of dirt in a 4-pound bag. What are you going to do with that other pound? You know, that's an old country saying, but country goes a long way when it comes to common sense sometimes.
Okay, good discussion. We ready to vote?
On
What we doing? They've already voted.
Litigation.
Okay, yeah.
All ran together.
It's all running together. So litigation list, we've already looked at that, thank you.
We gotta pick the
And to reschedule the next meeting,
You do a motion to accept the litigation list.
okay, is there a motion to
Make a
accept?
motion to accept the litigation list.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay. Now can we reschedule the next meeting? Okay, we got two, or three scenarios, the 9th, 3rd, or the 10th. So what are we looking at?
I don't have a calendar.
Is that going to be our
January.
meeting with the legislators?
Pardon?
Is that going to be the same as our meeting with the legislators?
It really should be, shouldn't it, Mayor?
Yeah.
Yes.
So have we asked them if any of
Maybe,
these dates
maybe
work?
you see which one of those dates is better for them, I don't know. The 3rd is right after the holiday on the 1st and the 2nd. We could, if it's, unless you have preferences, we can get Vicki to ask all of them which one of those 3 dates they would prefer, or which one we can get the most of them to say they can come.
The next meeting is actually scheduled for the 2nd. Right? The 1st. Oh, yeah. I see.
The first Monday,
Looking at the
yeah.
wrong year, you're right, the 1st. Okay.
So do we want to just let Vicki do a poll of the legislators and
What are the dates that are available to us, the 9th?
the 3rd, 9th, and 10th?
Doesn't our chairman have the authority to call a meeting or set a meeting? Can we just let him work with Vicki and just pick a date?
Certainly can.
Okay, well, we'll just do that then. Any other business before the committee? If not, we stand adjourned.